Okay, for part 4, we're going to start assembling the cabinet. So the first thing I need to do is I need to, these are some of the screws I'm going to need here, so I don't want to lose these. We're going to need to mount the binding posts on the back for the speaker terminals. Looks like they go right into these holes on the back. So let me locate my speaker binding posts here, and we will mount them. Somewhere here I have a pair of snips. There they are. Nice thing about these kits is everything is in separate bags, so it makes it easy to keep track of the parts. Okay, so we have our 4 speaker terminals here. We're going to mount them in the back of the chassis. So we're going to remove the spacers here, and it's positive, negative, negative, positive, and they just fit in through these bottom holes as the rest of them roll away. We're going to mount our speaker terminals, and we're going to mount them with the wire access facing up and down. Now, according to the instructions, we only put one of the 2 nuts on for now. The other ones are obviously going to be what secures it to the circuit board once the circuit board's installed. So we're just going to put the 4 on and tighten them down here for now. And then we'll mount the board. Just going to tighten down these nuts on the back here. Okay, that's got the 4 screws in, or the 4 speaker terminals in place. Here's what they look like when they're mounted on the back of the unit. Now we'll mount the circuit board. First I need to put on one of the, this is a little, they call a, what do they call this thing here? I got it on here. It's just a felt collar, I think. Felt pad. Where is it here? Masking felt. That's what they call it. That's this little piece here. That just goes over the switch. I guess to so you don't see the switch sticking through the hole here. We're going to mount the board on like that, and our other terminals will poke through these other holes. That. So we'll secure our input jacks. Should also help center them too. You see now this is our speaker impedance switch for 4 to 6 ohms and 8 to 16. I think that's what it's for. Okay, now the next thing we have to attach is we have to put the remainder of the flange nuts on the back of the speaker terminals. This is what actually makes the connection to the board. So it's going to pull this board up tight. and possibly break it. Certainly doesn't look like it's, you know. Okay, we'll just give those a bit of a turn, tighten them up a bit. Okay, that now has this board attached. The next thing we have to put in are the audio output transformers. So I've got the two audio output transformers here. What we have to do is we have to mount 4 spacers. I use these large screws, these large spacers, so I need 4 screws. There's 2 of them. And here's the other 2. We'll mount these spacers as per the instructions. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 it looks like. That's these spacers here. Then the transformers go in as well. But let's get the spacers mounted first. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm mounting the 4 spacers in and tightening them down. These are going to be to support another circuit board, obviously. So that's 2 of them. The other 2 go here. And here. And we'll just tighten those in place as well. Okay, that's those 4 spacers in. And now we have to mount the transformers, which are held in place with 4 more screws and 2 nuts. And the transformers go in a specific way, so it's telling me that the orange and the orange, yellow, and red, yellow, and orange wires are on the outside. So they go in this direction, one this way, the other one over here. So let's get the transformers mounted in place. Okay, that's got the 2 transformers mounted, and we now can, well, I could probably plug the speaker terminals in. I think it's pretty obvious where they go. One goes to there, and the other one goes to this side. Next we have the 4 feet to go on the bottom. It doesn't show any. Oh, these are tapped. These holes are tapped, so we don't have to put nuts on these ones. We just put the 4 feet on and put the screws through like that. Okay, now we've got the feet on here. What is next? We got to mount a few more boards here. looks like I have to set unit number 7. And it's going to go up here. That'll be the power. That's the power connector. And it says, do not forget the claw washers. So I have to remove the 2 screws that I used to temporarily set this in place. And looks like there's going to be another one of these spacers that's got to go up here. Just looking to see which one it is. Yeah, there's going to be another spacer I have to put on here, so let me find the screws for that first. Okay, I've got my spacer on the unit number 7 board. We're going to attach that to the back here. That's the power adapter, or the power cord I should say, not an adapter, it's the cord. And we've got a couple screws to go in here. And I've got a couple of washers to go on these screws to hold them in place. There's another screw that goes in up here. No, this is going to be a countersunk screw, I think. Yeah, flat countersunk screw goes in up top here. So that now holds the AC inlet. And we have some more. Looks like, I'm just looking at the got 3 more hex spacers that have to go in. Looks like these 3 here. 1, 2, and 3. No, they go into the board first. So they go into unit 2. So there are 3. Looks like 1 on either side. I'm just trying to figure out the way this thing goes in. Okay. One that goes behind here, like that. And it has another piece screwed on top of it, like that. And then there's, looks to be these other 2 here, these other 2 holes here. We do the same. We put another one here and screw another standoff on top, and one more that goes on the bottom hole here. And that screws on like that. I'm just going to give these things a bit of a torque so they don't come loose. They're on tight. Didn't show any washers or anything going in there. Okay, now this looks like this is going to plug into unit 4 with the connector down here. Let's see which way the board goes in. Looks like it goes in like this. So that plugs in just like that, and that should line these holes up, which it does. So there's 3 more screws that we put in the bottom to hold that board in place. And attach this board. Okay, that's got the Unit 2 board in place. Yeah, now it tells me to hook up the speaker wires. I already did that. And now we need to mount the power transformer, and that's what these big lugs were for. The power transformer fits down right over top of the speaker output here. So here's our power transformer. This big brute. And it probably tells me which color wires go where. Yes. The red, yellow, red, yellow, yellow, blue, blue is facing to the front. So this is the power transformer, and it goes in just like that. And there'll be some big screws to hold that down. Next, we need to attach the power connector. So this is the power connector here. We'll just plug that in to the power plug, and we have the power switch jumper wire, which is going to plug into the power switch up at the front board here and into the back there. That's our power connector. We're getting down to the point where we're going to mount the main board, which is basically the only board that's left, is the main board here. This board is going to mount like this when we're done with our little jumpers up on the top here. I'm going to initially set it for Pentrode, but I will put switches. I will put switches on here so that I can switch the modes. But initially I'll set it up as a Pentrode set. Okay, first thing we got to do now is I have to connect. I got the speaker connectors and the power connector to go on here. Power connector goes up to the front here. So power connector snaps on up front to there. And when we turn the board over, because the speaker terminals connect to either side here. So there's one speaker terminal there, and the other one goes to that connector. And then we can drop the circuit board in place and make sure that the connectors are lined up. It's just the one connector that needs to line up here. It's right here on the front. Going to line up the pins. We can put, and it slides down. There's a slot right here in the board to help you line it up. Just make sure the pins line up and plug in like that. Now the unit is ready to be fastened down, and there'll be 3 more screws to fasten down the board. It's these ones here. There's actually lots more screws left, but 3 more screws that attach this board in place. One here, and the other 2 go down through the tube sockets. Go down there. On the front, there's a little LED mask that goes in like that. That's to diffuse the LED. I'm just going to stick that in place with some tape. I do believe that actually has the amplifier complete now. I think you guys probably want to hear if this thing actually works before I even complete the cabinet on it, because as I said, I'm going to modify these jumpers here and put switches in place of them. You can see how it works. Right now there's a jumper that you move, whether you want to have it in triode, ultralinear, or Pentrode mode. You just set these little jumpers in place and you just move the jumper. So basically it's one connection. It's either made to the Pentrode, ultralinear, or triode. Let's just see if this thing works. So I got my speaker wires here. You guys are chomping at the bit to see whether this thing will actually work. So we'll just fire it up with it still apart. And I'll just put the tubes in it and hook it up, hook up some sound to it. And that didn't come out straight, did it? I have to straighten that up. It's not bad, but it's just not perfect. We hook up our 4 speaker wires. Got a power cord for the thing. Oh, before I put the power cord on, I better make sure I've got the tubes in. We've got our audio feed. I think this is input number 1. So we'll plug in input number 1. This is just going to one of my DAT machines. And here are the tubes. So let's put the tubes in. These are 12 AU7 tubes for the preamp and driver. So these are basically a dual triode. And then the 6L6 GC Electro-Harmonics, Russian made. And they just go in like that. They only go in one way as they are keyed. Okay, who's going to place their bets now? Am I going to get sound or am I going to get smoke? Who wants to bet? Power cord. Are we ready to try this thing out? That's a good sign. I got a blue light here. Let this thing warm up. Tubes take a few minutes to warm up, so I'll keep you guys in anticipation. Bit of volume, and I'll just press the play button here on my DAT machine and see if we get music. We get music. For our plate. You look here. As you can see the meter okay. 302 volts. Very good speakers that I got in here either. I think they might be blown. Of course, the rule of thumb for tubes, right, is that you never evaluate them until your tubes have been burned in for at least 100 hours. These are brand new tubes. So the sound of this thing is going to change as it warms up, as the tubes age. You never ever evaluate new tubes right out of the box. They do need at least 100 hours of operation before they are actually going to fully break in. So I'm pretty impressed with the sound so far from these small speakers. These are very small speakers. They're just little 4-inch drivers that I've got here. And they've been beat up. But yeah, it's sounding good. I'm going to make another, there's going to be a part 5 to this because I want to do some modification. I want to do some modifications to it. I want to put some switches in here to control the settings before I put it all together. So I'll probably do that over the long weekend for me here. Get in some switches on the weekend, and we'll finish it up then. But yeah, it's done. It's working and it sounds great. Hope you enjoyed this build, and we'll catch you in part 5 when I put the top on it. And they're a bit warm. I have no feeling in my fingertips, but I do have feeling in the rest of my fingers because all the years when I was pulling tubes out hot, right? So these don't feel that warm to me, but in the rest of my hand, yeah, they're warm. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and we will catch you in the final installment when I actually put the top cover on it. Thanks for watching.